Bitcoin Renaissance. We're truly making history here, huh?
Absolutely.
Charlie, give us a quick intro to Bitlayer.
Sure. For everybody who don't know me, I'm a co-founder of Bitlayer. Come from Singapore, been in the space since 2015. Early involved with Ethereum, first round investor of Polkadot, brought them to China and Asia. Previously head of APAC and Polygon. So you can tell I'm not a Bitcoin laser eyes, but I orange pill myself in the beginning of Ordinals. So being completely on the orange team since last year. We start Bitlayer as one of the first Bitcoin L2, working on BitVM approach. So far, we have one of the largest TVL, 260 projects, 250,000 transactions per day. We're the first team backed by Franklin Templeton, talking to all the institutions. And yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, I mean, let's start from the beginning. Why build on Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I've been in the journey about DeFi, about Ethereums and the L2s. I worked in L2 building ecosystem before. I know a lot of the NFT things and the DeFi protocols. The pivotal moment for me about Bitcoin was really the builder culture back because of Ordinals. There was a lot of interesting sentiment about trading on Bitcoin, minting things, creating things on Bitcoin network. And another side was I saw crazy amount of fragmentation on liquidities across all the 200 Ethereum L2s, fighting for the same pool of people from last November. And BitVM, one of those interesting solutions without hard fork of Bitcoin, really gets me excited. That's kind of very important thing. We want to potentially bring this trustless programmable environment around this biggest asset of the digital asset called Bitcoin. So doing things around Bitcoin, bring these DeFi features for Bitcoin holders, I think it's one of the most exciting things.
I mean, Bitcoin has been around for such a long time. Why did people start building only now?
So it's a lot of people tried that, very early days. So for people who haven't known that, Vitalik was the writer of Bitcoin magazine all the way from 2012. He really trying to bring things, with tooling competing in world computer. But with Bitcoin layer 1, which is a UTXO cash system, you can't really do that. So that's kind of the early hurdles. That's the reason he started a complete new layer 1 called Ethereum. For a lot of the Bitcoin OGs and miners, they always care about one thing, which is the hash rate and how much Bitcoin they can mine out. Right? Bitcoin in the last 15 years have two features. One is payment. They solve the problem with double spend. Alex sent a certain Bitcoin to Bob, Bob sent to Charlie, and so on. There's the order book on Bitcoin network is always clear, right? That you can't really double spend with the UTXO system. There's another thing called mining. That's it, right? But with more and more new folks coming into the space, especially the ETF, right? Like the guys like BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, all these institutions coming into space, it's a modern finance first principle. When you hold assets, you want to yield. Bitcoin has been zero interest assets hit over 1 trillion market cap already. So when the market cap is so big, right, and the people put a lot of money on these digital assets, they want to yield. But you can't really do that on Bitcoin L1. It's not. There's no native yield on Bitcoin. It's happening at Ethereum L1. So that's actually very important to build things around that. So, and I think the trigger was really just the whole Bitcoin renaissance last year, right? During the time, Ordinals was just a little thing, but it was very interesting Bitcoin culture. Everything you inscribe on Bitcoin network, it's forever there in the history. So it's pretty exciting for a lot of Bitcoin OGs and some kind of more progressive type of Bitcoin holders. But I think more importantly, it was just such a big asset class with over 1.5 trillion market cap. Imagine just 10% of the assets, right, put into TVL, activate this liquidity in the cold wallet into liquidity pools. There's a lot of interesting stuff we can do. 10% of Bitcoin market cap is 1.50 billion. That TVL is 4 times bigger than existing Ethereum TVL, which is around the 40 billion. So there's a big potential. We see at least 40x of potential between the Ethereum DeFi world and Bitcoin DeFi world.
When I see people building on Bitcoin, one of the things that comes to mind is Bitcoin has a lot of volume, a lot of liquidity, but most people are just holding. You see this changing because obviously, if we're building, you need the builders, you need the users, you need this activity going on. Is it changing? Do you see it growing?
It's definitely a slow evolution, but it's actually accelerating. So in the beginning of last year, when Ordinals came out, there was a lot of NFT traders. They were inscribing on Bitcoin. They were trading on Magic Eden, Unisats, all these platforms on Bitcoin L1. And a lot of miners was naysayer. They were like, oh, you're polluting our chain. It's our holy land. And then they realized, oh my God, wait a minute. How come I'm making so much more fees every day now? Oh, what's going on with on-chain transaction? Who is doing that? And then they realize, oh, there's an interesting Bitcoin culture, all these ordinals community. We have the BRC20, ARC20, we have BIMMAP, all that, right? So what's changing gradually in the last 12 months, since we have all these meta protocol and L2 like us, we're basically cultivating this DeFi use cases, right? Like a lot of Bitcoin holders have been bridging their Bitcoin from L1 to our L2s. They see interesting potential in alpha to earn yield without actually selling their Bitcoin. And there's like on-chain derivative, on-chain derivative. We have the different type of Uniswap V3, V2 kind of DEXs on our chain. All of liquid staking, LRT, LST assets on Bitcoin as well. So I think definitely a lot of people are seeking all kinds of on-chain Bitcoin financial products. Those are the actual real demand. No matter it's institution or retail, it's happening. And Moderator was having a fireside with you, right? There's actually some interesting energy come from the community. They want to create like Bitcoin culture meme coin as well. Like meme coin is one of the most heavily traded assets, right, on different chains. It's not happening on Bitcoin yet. You can't really do that much high performance trade on Bitcoin L1. So I can do that on Bitcoin L2, like us. So like I think there's more and more things happening. And if we zoom out, why we want to do that as a Bitcoin ecosystem rather than just every single Bitcoin miner as a holder just put on their Bitcoin in the cold wallet, doing zero, nothing, is the future of Bitcoin ecosystem. We have the 4-year halving. How to make sure the miners keep the security budget on Bitcoin, make sure it's a high security decentralized network, right? Not having this FUD of a quantum computer, right? It's going to just wreck the whole entire network. We need the miners to keep contributing their hash power and make sure it's a decentralized network. So who is paying for them? We need the on-chain fees to eventually incentivize all the miners. So it's difficult to say because Bitcoin can go to 5 million per coin. So upcoming halving and halving, it's all going to fine. With another 2 cycles, it's going to be very difficult if we don't have any transaction happening on chain. All the miners globally just rely on the every 10 or 20 minutes of mining fees to subsidize, make a sustainable living. We know, and we've been talking to like Soul miners, Marathons, Foundry. We're actually supported by N-Alpha, Bitmain. A lot of folks actually are very excited to see, can we actually create an interesting Bitcoin ecosystem? Then miners can get in more fees. So that's kind of our mission as well. We're not building a Bitcoin sidechain to stealing that business from Bitcoin L1 to the sidechain. We're building native layer 2 to contributing interesting fees back to Bitcoin L1 to the miners.
It was also like the year of L2s. There were so many L2s launching and reviving, if you want to say. I do wonder, like, can you use the same playbook to launch an L2 on Bitcoin, or is it intrinsically different and you had to figure out how it would map out?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of experience building Polkadot and Polygon. I know a lot of friends still working for Arbitron, Immutable, all these Ethereum L2s. There's a lot of Ethereum folks, they get orange pilled by us in the last 12 months. Is they kind of working on interesting stuff on that. And I would say most of sophisticated DeFi builders are still in Ethereum or Solana, right? Don't get me wrong. Bitcoin didn't have such a sophisticated high-level builder community. In the past, it was just miners, right? So the playbook Ethereum, especially the good part, is definitely still usable. Like Bitlayer, we launched our V1 mainnet in April. We kind of took this whole playbook of Arbitron together with Blast. We have our ecosystem leaderboards. We try to make sure we emphasize, support the project actually can bring value to our ecosystem with top TVL, top transactions. But we also are very aware the Bitcoin holders that are not necessarily the same like mindset or same use behavior as Solana folks or Barrachain folks is a very different. Like the culture is different, the user behavior is different, the risk assumption or risk appetite is different, right? So for when we actually supporting our use cases, we also bring and give them user test to some of the Bitcoin holders we know. I personally have been like very deeply tapping into all the ordinals folks and Bitcoin holders and also the miners. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure it's a transparent ecosystem. Our use cases, we show a very transparent way for the users what kind of trust assumption, risk assumption they are signing up for. When they are receiving 10% APYs, what is the underlying risk about that, right? To make sure it's clear. I think for Bitcoin community compared to all the meme coin or all these proof of stake new chains, it's way less risk taking. But still, when see interesting yield and they see there's an interesting trust assumption or proper setup of the product, and with proper security auditors have very sophisticated auditing reports to show them, there's more and more people wants to have a taste on all these things. But I would say, yeah, Bitcoiners are slow and they are trying to be very first principle driven, which is very different. When I was serving on Polygon, like all these gaming users on Web3, it's a very different community.
We saw a strong endorsement from Donald Trump in Nashville, and then Trump won the elections.
Yep.
So now it is a truly exciting moment for Bitcoin specifically. How do you see next year playing out? Give me some predictions.
Yeah, so I will start with some hot takes, not start from the price prediction. Hot takes number one. A lot of Fortune 500 companies who have this metaverse strategy 2021, for the people who know, like last cycle, all the Fortune company was trying to, oh, we want to be metaverse this and metaverse that, right? A lot of them died down for whatever reasons. A lot of these folks got starting their Bitcoin strategy this cycle. We see Deutsche Telekom started the Bitcoin mining. You see a lot of companies playing around, should I put Bitcoin into our balance sheets, right? On the treasury management side, and many other stuff along the ways. So that's going to happen one way or the other from the big companies, and it's going to from like accelerating mode. A lot of companies going to copy from each other to see, oh, this is something very interesting as a business strategy, which can sort of also boost up their stock price. But that's superficial. What's exciting is the on-chain activities, the trading volume, and also TVL, potentially on Bitcoin L2s or Meta Protocol, can flip some of Ethereum major L2s. That's very exciting, right? And then obviously, when you mentioned Donald Trump, I was there, like Donald Trump was speaking in front of us like very, very closely. He was talking about, right, let's put all the Bitcoin in the National Reserve, right? Which means all the 200,000 Bitcoin the government have in United States, they're not selling, right? They want to keep that, hopefully to solve their US debt problem, which is over 10 trillion, right? Over 30 trillion right now. It's a pretty crazy US debt. Hopefully they can use Bitcoin as a new asset class to front run everybody and pay the debt. So that's their national strategy. And I see, because I come from Singapore, I know Singapore is very aligned with US policy as well. A lot of Asian countries like Vietnam as well. We're gonna see in 2025 a lot more developing or even developed countries gonna follow this trend to put in Bitcoin in the National Reserve, even start mining Bitcoin because they have cheap electricity fees and all that, right? They have hydropower, nuclear power. So we still have more or less 1 million Bitcoin we can mine out. It's a big competition. So we're gonna see a more decentralized, higher hash rate of Bitcoin network because all these new miners coming along, right? And what's next? We hope to see a lot of users currently doing interesting things on Solana, on Ethereum, wants to tap into their Bitcoin, use case, right? I think that's something super exciting, and that's what we're focusing on as well.
Charlie, can you share some alpha? What is Bitlayer doing? Anything exciting coming up?
Thank you for asking. So yeah, for the people who are in the audience, very exciting stuff as a retail, as a user. If you have Web3 wallets, especially Binance Wallet, we just launched our campaign with Binance Wallet 2 days ago. Just within the last 48 hours, we have over 100,000 participants already. We introduced 11 very interesting Bitcoin DeFi use cases deployed on Bitlayer. We're giving over 1.2 million worth of US dollar worth of tokens rewards for the participants. I think we try to build these campaigns to use that as a catalyst for all the new users to have a try, have a taste. I wouldn't say every single use case is a good fit for everybody. It's really flavors, right? Certain people are more risk-taking. Certain people are traders. Certain people are more like stakers, right? They want to be not touch it every single day. We try to provide a suite of products for all kinds of users, for different tastes, different risk appetite as well. But this audit reward on the campaign, onboarding users from Binance, all the other wallets, is so far the most effective way to getting users on board. Right, we're getting the on-chain user on board. We want to cultivate the whole user interaction and also push the use cases to improve their UI and UX, to improve their products. Right, then while everybody's complaining the UX is bad, I don't want to use this, use that, they're improving. But if you don't have a shot, you don't have a taste, there's no mass adoption. Right, we have to start somewhere. I think right now with Bitcoin ecosystem, it's such an early stage. We are still very early. A lot of people still don't know what the heck is going on with Bitcoin ecosystem. What is ordinals? What is L2s? Just have a taste, have a try with our campaign, gain some reward. Doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Guys, watch the space. This sounds really exciting. Charlie, thank you so much.